Let's see. Now can you hear me? Good morning. Welcome to All Souls. How wonderful to see all of your faces here in Emerson Hall. That song you were just listening to is called Let It Be a Dance. And Rick Fortner was playing that extra special for Mike Newman, who's in the back of the hall this morning. Because it's his favorite song, or him, and we're so happy he's here. And I'm so happy all the rest of you are here. My name is Barbara Prose. I'm happy to be here with you this morning, taking in all the faces. I'm back in Tulsa for a few weeks, and it's great to be here as spring is going to arrive, spring equinox, this Tuesday. And kids, I'm looking for the kids. Kids are going back to school this week. How do we feel about that? Mixed. I think the kids are sad and the parents are happy. Woo! Always a mixed bag. Welcome to our Humanist Hour, the point where all seekers, all questions, atheists, agnostics, no matter what you believe or don't believe, you are welcome here. This is a covenantal congregation, not a creedal congregation. There's nothing you need to believe to belong, and so we welcome you here. And I'm so thrilled to welcome the Reverend Tamara Labach this morning. She was our associate minister from 2006 to 2015, so she was here when I arrived, and she was the most generous teacher and mentor to me than I could possibly imagine, and I will be thankful to her all my life. She is a minister, a mother, a wife, an author, a singer-songwriter, and a backyard chicken farmer. And I can testify to that. Thank you for the fresh eggs in my office this morning. She's currently working on her doctorate at Phillips Theological Seminary, where she's exploring, okay, you gotta focus now, she's a brilliant woman. She's exploring the impact of understanding multiplicity of mind on the connection to self and other. She's also the current resident chaplain of the Terence Crutcher Foundation. She's also, she doesn't sleep, I figured that out a long time ago, the founder of the Restorative Justice Institute of Oklahoma, where she teaches leaders to work with resistance, adapt to circumstances without losing their identity, and lift up voices that might otherwise go unheard at every level of systems. Woohoo! Wow, I know. I want to do that too, right? So you can take courses at the Restorative Justice Institute of Oklahoma. You can learn how to do that too. And I love this. She creates a space for people to experience that we are not the worst thing we have ever done, nor are we the worst thing that has ever happened to us. So just take that in as I light our chalice. We are not the worst thing we have ever done, nor are we the worst thing that has ever happened to us. Welcome to All Souls, where we love beyond belief. Music playing. Let's join together in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
My, there are a lot of you this morning. Good morning. My name is Shannon Boston. I'm the religious educator here at All Souls. And I have a story for you this morning. It is called Olympia Brown's Calling. There are no pictures because I made this one up myself and I didn't have time to illustrate it. So close your eyes and think. Imagine this time 160 years ago. When Olympia Brown lived, she was born in 1835, when many children never went to school, And girls in particular were thought not to need an education. But Olympia wanted to get an education because she wanted to be a minister, and not just any minister. She wanted to be a universalist minister. Universalists believed that anyone could go to heaven, not just a select few. And when you go to a Unitarian Universalist church today, the minister might be a man or a woman, but when Olympia was a young woman, there were no women ministers in any church. Most people thought that women weren't smart enough or strong enough in their minds or hearts to be ministers, but Olympia knew better. She could understand and explain difficult ideas as well as any man. And she was really good at helping people. She could help people solve their problems and make them feel better when they were sad. Olympia knew how to get people to work together, to make good things happen. And when she spoke her thoughts, people were interested in listening. But back in those days, schools trained people to be ministers that didn't want women to be students. And churches didn't want women to be ministers. Olympia had to work very hard to convince a school to let her study there. And Olympia had to remember to believe in herself even when other people said mean things to her or about her. And once she had an education, it was hard for Olympia to convince a church to let her have the job of minister. She said, "You need to judge people on how well they can do a job, not on whether they're men or women." Once Olympia could get members of a church to let her lead a Sunday service, they would vote on whether to have her as their minister, and the yes votes always won because she preached such a good sermon. She was able to be minister of several churches in the eastern part of the United States, but she wanted to be the minister of a church in Wisconsin, which was closer to her home. She would have to convince the people of the congregation to call her as their minister. This church was in Racine, Wisconsin, and she had to convince all of the people to come hear her preach. And even though it had been raining for days and days, so long that the bridges had been washed out in this young town, she convinced all of the people to come hear her because it was so unusual for a woman to preach. But they were so pleased and excited when they heard her that they all voted yes to have her be their minister. Olympia spent many years as the minister of the Universalist Church of Racine, Wisconsin. And today that very church is named for her, the Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. It is named for the first woman ordained as a minister in America. What religious authority do you think Olympia Brown listened to that told her she could be a minister? I'd like to invite our children to come with me to class today to discuss this and who they listen to when they have big questions.
Raise your hand if there's an open seat next to you. That'd be helpful so people in the back can come forward. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just take a few deep breaths in honor of Olympia Brown's deep knowing and her capacity to hear and honor her own life force. This morning, there are several people in transition. So we're going to pause to hear and honor about what's happening in their lives as we stay connected to that root force in ourselves. Some joyful news. Sid Martin, who served on our care team for many years, I think he started serving on the care team when Reverend LeBach was here, has a new granddaughter whose name is Luna Pearl Martin. And she was born on March 14th to Craig and Jennifer Martin. Some big news. 2 aspiring ministers who've been part of All Souls, served on staff or as interns, have been welcomed into preliminary fellowship and cleared for ordination into the UU ministry over this past week, and their names are the soon-to-be Reverend Corey Lovell and the soon-to-be Reverend Stephen Williams. And we hold Lisa Peralt and her family on the death of Lisa's aunt, who died this past Friday. And we also hold Julie Tattershaw, whose aunt, Barbara Lawrence, just died yesterday. And as we hold these people in our hearts, we remember the preciousness of this day. Might even close your eyes with me. Just breathe and listen and feel our way forward into our time together.
We are Y'all want to try it? Want to see what happens when a woman takes the mic? I see so many beautiful, familiar faces in this space. What a huge gift. What a huge, huge gift. I'm just taking you all in right now. So beautiful. I want you to know that before I start, I want to just do a real quick harm repair, actually. The last time that I was here, and maybe the people that I'm offering harm to are not here, which is possible, but I want to say this out loud in case one of the people that you know maybe is concerned about coming to a point service for this reason. But I wanted to apologize because the last time that I was here, I used the Psalms Project in a way that may have not been fully consented. If you came here because you believe that you were going to experience the transcendentalist humanist thread of our denomination, because it's called The Point and because that's what it's described as, and you came here and learned about my unabashed love for God songs, even if I changed the word to love and my experience of love, it may not have felt right or sat right in your bones, right? And so what I know now that I didn't know then, I mean, I knew it, but I didn't really know it. You know those things where like you know it, but you don't really like know it? Like I didn't know it, right? Well, now I'm 50. I don't think it's just because I'm 50, because just because you reach the age of 50 doesn't mean you get this epiphany miraculously on your birthday. But I do think that I've had more experiences now and can say I have fully embodied this knowing. And that knowing is that what we create together has more possibility and potential when we are all consenting together to be in the same space in our right minds, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, in our right minds, being in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And I would posit that the right reason is in some way that benefits you individually, me individually, you as a collective group, and me in my positional power in relationship to you. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So first I just want to say, I'm sorry. My second thing I want to say is, I would like to get your permission to go off script. I just did it in the first service and it was really freeing. So I have preached in the point still with a script up to this point. You should know that. Up to this point, I have preached with a script pretty detailed, and I have just some notes here to make sure that I don't get off track. But other than that, I would like your permission for me to be able to go off script. What I actually really need, though, is not permission, because you don't really have power over me in the same way that you did the last time I was here. When I was here from 2015, when I was here from 2006 to 2015, you kind of did, right? Because you called me, so you held me accountable, right, in a certain way. So now you have to just trust, even though that you don't get to call me out. Well, you can call me out individually. That's fine. You can go online if you want. I guess you could call me out communally. But anyway, the point is I want you to walk away from our interaction believing that I care about what you want, that I care about what the collective wants, and I'm going to try and move them through that experience in exactly 14 minutes and 7 seconds in the context of an hour, right? That's what we agreed to, right? So I'm going to try and keep that going. So if you agree with me, would you mind raising your hand? Awesome. This is what democracy is supposed to look like. Oh, did I say that? Yes, we can have wine and talk about that later. Fabulous. So now I want you to think back to that moment when you just told me that it was okay for us to do that. Was there kind of flow and ease in your body, or was there a part of you that's like, geez, does that mean we're going to miss lunch? What does it mean? Was there a part of you that was resisting? And if so, can we give voice to that? I want you to honor your resistance. It actually serves me and the group for your resistance to be heard. Any resistance? Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah. That is my gift to hear you. No, and actually, it is a white dominant construct that messages are delivered in hymn sandwiches for 20 minutes between songs, and I'm really sorry. Can I honor that? Does that make that part feel better? And you can have more of me later outside of this context. How's that? Okay, all right. Anybody else have a concern?
I almost yelled out, you have 17 minutes.
Oh,
So it's just helpful.
okay. So if a part of you is impatient but because you feel that I haven't got to the sermon yet, you've missed it so far. So like I'm already in it. I believe that when we align content and process, something really magical happens. When the content of a service and the process of a service come together, you get magic in this church building. But it requires consent. Not meeting somebody's expectations that you think they have. Let me just go here because boy, I have gotten off track. When you think that you know what they want and what they need and you don't check for understanding, it becomes a huge problem. Does that make sense? You've obviously all done that in your life, right? I mean, I'm just saying, even just planning what movie to go see and you find yourself watching something you don't want to watch, right? So let's come back to consent. So the sermon title is called Feeling Together. When we all feel together, interestingly, we are offering our consent to be in relationship with and resonate with another person or a group of people. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, I am a talker backer. I'm sorry. If that triggers you because you went to some church and they wanted you to say amen 50 billion times, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say, don't do that. Just say yes. Imagine that we're sitting in a lecture hall, okay? And I need to have that feedback in order to be able to do what I'm doing. So consent means two different definitions that I love. One is like minds, plural, minds, not mind, minds. Takes two to have consent. Oh. Takes difference to have consent. Oh. Takes diversity to have consent in fullness, really. Takes just the right amount of sameness and just the right amount of diversity to create something really cool and possibility between more than one person. Making sense? So I want you, instead of me telling you and you giving your power to me because I have the microphone and because I'm standing up in front of you and because I went to school like Olympia Brown did and we learned how to do this thing that we call ministry and here we are and that's all fine. But reality is, you have given me the power to be able to study the things that I've studied, and so I want to offer the things back to you. So my dissertation, interestingly, is on, she said it correctly, but it's shifted just a little bit because it's actually about consent. So I'm introducing internal family systems, this idea of multiplicity. I'm introducing consent through the lens of internal family systems to hopefully increase your connection, people's connection, to themselves, their compassion for themselves, for others, and their connection to the largest system, whether or not you see that as Gaia or Earth or whatever that is for you. Is this all making sense? Please don't nod your head if you don't believe so, because it really does help me direct. Okay, awesome. So what was I just saying? Barbara, you got to keep me on track now. Consent, right. Feeling with, here I am. Like minds, okay. So consent means like minds, and it also means feeling with. And so in order to know if we consent with someone else, the very first thing that we have to do is get consent with our system. That's so lovely. David, are you playing behind me? Oh. Hey. So we have to first get in line with our consent of our own system before we create a new system with something else. Does that make sense to everybody? If you've studied biology, if you've studied chemistry, this all makes sense. It has a different name. We can talk about that later, not today because I only have 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Does that make sense though? Yeah. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to go inside. So will you please, if you are willing, and if not, then don't, to do a U-turn inside yourself and close your eyes for a minute and think of a time when you fully consented to something totally embodied. Not just a, like, yeah, I'll go to this restaurant with you, okay. But like, whoo, yes, I want to go to that because they have this thing and I can remember it and it tastes really good and I want to have that again and I want to go there and I'm a yes. Full on. My body wants to eat that thing. I want to be with you and I want to go to that place. Does that make sense? Okay, so turn inside into yourself and I want you to think about that moment when someone said, do you want to go to lunch with me at blah, blah place? And you were 100% yes. And it was a delightful time and no time was wasted and you feel like you guys generated new meaning about whatever was going on in your lives or the last episode that you watched of whatever, and it was all beautiful and you walked away feeling like you had a real connection. Are you with me? Okay. So can you picture in your mind, and this is why I'm asking you to do this, because imagination, what we know about science is that if you imagine something with your senses, i.e. you are feeling with it in the moment, in a moment, if we do a scan of your brain, it's very difficult for them to tell the difference between whether or not you are actually there or whether or not you are imagining it. You know that? Okay. So I want you to go in your imagination to that choice point where the person said, would you like to go to lunch with me? And your whole body, your head, your heart, and your gut all screamed, woohoo! We're going to lunch with them. And I get some food, and my heart's going to get connection, and my intellect's going to be challenged, right? Are you with me? Okay. So in that space, I want you to imagine in your mind that very moment where you were being asked, and I want you to freeze the frame. Now, you may have right now a bunch of scrolling ideas and memories going through your brain. Maybe you have ADHD or ADD, and you've got so many that you're like, what am I going to do? I can't pick one. I don't know how. I've had so many. I can't, right? It's okay. You have control. I want you in this moment to pause the scene. Just invite your system to pause on one that will work for this moment. And then I want you to imagine that moment where they asked you, and I want you to imagine yourself saying yes. And I want you to feel what that yes feels like in your body. Not just above the neck, but below the neck. What does that yes feel like in your body? Just keep saying the word yes over and over again. Now, we can get there a lot better if you can fill in some of the details. So if you're not getting it yet, for some people that was enough and they're going, oh yeah, I got my belly's on fire and my heart's tingling and my... But if that's not working for you, fill in the details. What time of day was it? What season was it? What were you wearing? If it feels like it's in black and white, then switch over to Technicolor Wizard of Oz. Okay? You're in charge. What colors are there? Who else is around you? What table were you sitting at or wherever you are? Are you inside or outside? See if you can see the waiter. Really fill in as much as you absolutely possibly can. And when you've got that, if your eyes are closed, please keep them closed because this will be helpful for me. I'm just checking in. If you have that image in your mind right now really fully, can you just let me know by raising your hand? Okay. Okay, perfect. If it's not there for you, don't freak out. It may be that, like, this is hard for you to get out of your thinking part, to be able to get present with this, and we're going to address that in just a second if we have time. So you've got that image in your brain, and you've got the feeling and the sensation of saying yes to this moment where your whole body was on board, and I want you to just keep saying yes, like you're in that scene. Yes, 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 and take a piece of your attention, and I want you to scan your body from your feet all the way up your legs, into your hips, all the way up your body, and see what gets your attention with this yes. Where do you feel it the most? And it may be in multiple places. And when you've got something, put your attention there. And if you don't have anything, I want you to have compassion for your body because it's carried you through to this moment. It's done a great job. There might be other things going on with it right now that are distracting. And if that's true, that's totally okay. This is just an exercise that you can do later because I'm giving you, you can track it like you're going to teach yourself later and give yourself as much time as you need. And now, will you raise your hand if you have some awareness in your body about some other place other than your head where you feel the word hell, where you feel a hell yes? Can you let me know? Very cool. And if it's halfway, it's okay. You can keep practicing this. Okay, come back to me. So, thank you. All it takes is a U-turn, right? I would like you to be able to exercise this muscle going forward, because how we say yes impacts everything in our lives. Everything. What we say yes to and what we say no to are like the zeros and the ones of the program of your life. And so I want you to do that with full consent. And I want you to do it with people who are only interested in your full consent. Because when you get two people together who are fully engaged with each other, not only do you get intimacy, right? You get intimacy, into me I see. You get intimacy. That doesn't mean sex, by the way. We can talk about that over a bottle of wine some other time too, in a group, so that you're clear that I'm not interested. That sounded really creepy. It's not what I meant at all. We can talk about that in a very accountable public place some other time. Does it make sense to all of you, though, that when your full body is engaged, your spirit, your heart, your gut, if you don't believe in spirit, doesn't matter, your intuition, your heart, your mind, right? When all of that is engaged, you're aligning, you're in resonance. So I believe that consent is integrated resonance. Integrated resonance. It happens in your own body, and you can feel it and notice it and work on that muscle, and it happens between people. And when you allow yourself to spend your time and your life's energy with your full consent, it changes everything. And you get a feedback loop from the universe, which we can talk about in detail later, that increases your capacity for serendipity or synchronous moments. So synchronicity is not just an album by the Police. It is actually something very real that people have experienced for a very long time. And in churches, interestingly, Marlon taught me this the very first Sunday I ever watched him teach a roots class. He summarized his $85,000 theological education with 3 figures on a dry erase board. And I was like, you are a badass synthesizer. This is really cool. And he basically drew out a church. You've done this, yeah? Well, tell me if I get it wrong. A church first, and then the Bible, and then a stick figure of a person, right? And he said, first, with religious authority, the church defined it for us because people had access to Scripture, to scriptural texts, and they were deemed, I don't know, they were lifted up above the rest because they somehow had access to something that other people didn't have, right? But it was reading, because that was the development of humanity, right? It was reading that they had access to. Huh, interesting. So, the church is in power first. Then we move to, the printing press happens around, somebody give me the date, 18 something, blah, blah, blah. The printing press happens, which we think, is it 14s? Okay, 14s. Don't trust everything I say. I am terrible with dates. Okay, so then in the 1400s, something magical happens, and we learn how to make machines. We learn how to manipulate machines to be able to print the word that we would like to read. And now all of a sudden, it doesn't take somebody handwriting an entire manuscript out, which, by the way, they put in whatever the heck they wanted, and they decided what was going to, anyway, right? You know. And so now we have this printing press, and now we also have the education of the populace, who can, well, more of the populace. I would argue that we still don't have the full education of the populace. And we have a bunch of people who are not, unfortunately, engaging with themselves or other people, well, who are voting. Anyway, I'm not running for office. You have the first the church and the church leaders do it. Then you've got the Bible. So now we shift in our religious authority, and now we're giving all of our authority goes to a text. Well, in some cultures, it goes to a text. And you know that I'm talking about Western white culture, right? Okay, good, because that's what I'm standing here looking like. So then we get to this idea, though, of the Scripture. And the Scripture being accessible for individuals to now engage directly with the text. Now it's me and the text, right? And so now that shifts, and Marlon would say that as we get to Unitarian Universalism, we were in these arguments of where the authority lies, and where we landed on that question of where does authority lie is with the people, right? It's about you and your relationship with whatever that text is and whatever your experience is, right? Yes. Now, there's a little bit of a problem. I don't think it's because Marlon is a dude. I just think it's because I think that there's a whole lot that gets left out of that equation. So I'm going to do it a little different. That's a very linear idea of what the history looked like, correct? And Marlon is a product of his educational background, which is grounded in historical and structural whiteness, right? That's all true. And I mean, we're minimizing things, we're making it, and it was beautiful. Helped me tremendously. I'm sure it helped a lot of people. But I want you to imagine it going in a circle. And imagine it instead as starting with the church, and now instead starting with my individual experience of serendipitous moments and synchronicity and feeling like I'm in relationship with the largest present system. I'm in relationship with the whole. I'm in relationship with the tree. I'm in relationship with the plants. This is the transcendental humanist place, right? I'm in relationship with all that is, and when humans get together, we do amazing things. And when we're coming from love and we're not coming from fear, amazing things happen, right? So when you start there, and somebody goes, oh, you're right, this mysteriously beautiful, mystical thing happens. Let's write it down and repeat the same experience every week and see if it happens again. And they went, okay, that's a good idea. And so then the church came and became the authority, right? And then the scripture became the authority. And then the people got the authority back, but they'd lost the fact that they actually have part of that larger present system inside of them and have access to it all the time. All the time. We have an eternal part, and we have a part that is temporal and experiencing temporal reality. We have an eternal part because we're made up of, if I'm over there in the 10 o'clock service, I'm going to say something very different, so I'm just being very authentic with you, but this is also true. We have an eternal part because we have a finite number of carbon atoms in the universe that make up all living beings and all living things. And part of the carbon atoms that are in me have been in every other living thing that happened before me. And I have, somebody who's a biologist will correct me, chromosomes and genes inside of us. And of those genes, only certain genes get switched on, and it's based on my relationship with people and my environment, right? So if what gets triggered in me is cortisol, because I'm in trauma and under stress all the time, then I'm going to see the world as a really frightening place. And if I have oxytocin more than I have cortisol, I'm going to see the world as this delightfully lovely place. However, guess what's so cool about that? Love conquers all things. What we know through science is that if you take a child who's gone through a traumatic journey and you offer them one adult that gives them real, authentic connection and love, that sees them for who they are, the pain they've been through, all that's ever happened to them, what happens to them is their oxytocin levels override the cortisol levels in their system. And they begin to flourish again as a system. Every system optimally happens in the world when all the parts work for the benefit of themselves and the whole. I'm going to say it again. Systems operate best when when individuals or parts of that system operate for the benefit of themselves and for the system. But if you keep denying what's going on in here, a lot will happen in this system. It will get your attention in different ways. What I know is there's a really beautiful study on internal family systems and rheumatoid arthritis that says when you go and experience your system as a multiplicity, like I'm studying in my doctoral program, and you have, I think it's 8 sessions of internal family systems, you can reduce inflammation and pain in your body by a significant amount with no medication. I'm interested in that because I don't want to give away my power to anyone that doesn't involve being in a relationship with me, right? I don't want to give away my power in that way. And so for me, I am very interested in co-creating my reality, co-creating my healing. So now that you know a lot about consent, I want you to be very conscious and check in with yourself when you decide where you're going to lunch. And do that, and remember this.
Please pay no attention to the people behind the curtain. Thank you. There is nothing better than a laugh to make a system feel better, too. Joy is my strength, is what I say. Joy is my strength. What a gift to sing with you. Can I just tell you that? And that music today, can I just say? So beautiful. So as we do this song, I want to be completely honest with you. I want you to sit with this song as though it is a relationship between your eternal self, if that feels weird, your authentic self, and all of your parts. Okay? This is a love song from your eternal self to all of your parts. Don't get wrapped up in watching it look like a love song between David and I, because we're both married. Okay. And monogamous, I might add.
Falling is easy, staying in love is hard. Hard to be honest, keep your heart open. Who you truly are, without the excuses, without the facade. There's no pretending. Here in your love, set me free. Oh, love, set me free.
I'm finally seeing you were here all along. Your love wasn't absent. No, it doesn't come or go. The image I've had starting to fade. Patient with me, lifting the veil, oh Lord, set me free. Oh love, set me free. Sails of my heart, here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Oh,
I spent so many years stuck in my head, couldn't see past myself, but all along you were right here in front of me, a part of me, inside of me, and patiently you spoke to me, and you set me free, and so naturally I'm living from my heart, oh, living from my heart, I let out the cells of my heart. Here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Oh, here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Oh, here I am, here you are.
If it blesses you, sing with us.
Let out the sails of my heart. Here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Oh, here I am, here you are.
Do it if it feels good. One more time.
I let out the sails of my heart. Here I am, here you are. I let out the sails of my heart. Oh, here I am, here you are.
So beautiful. Thank you.
I heard some of you singing. So, can I have your consent to share some announcements with you? Okay, I need to see hands. I need to see hands. Well, that's not enough hands. I might have to. Do you want to hear this information? Okay. Yeah, if you don't, right. And I guess if you don't have full consent, you can just like take a little nap. It's not going to take too long. But I do hope you'll join us. Actually, you will want to know this, especially if you're in the Point, because next Sunday, this room is going to be used for reception, coffee and conversation, the way it used to be. Yeah, thank you, Carol. Some of us remember when every Sunday we could sit in here and talk, because both of our Heritage Sunday festival services, same time, 10 and 11:30, are going to be in the sanctuary with performances from our choirs. So we're celebrating 102 years. It's the church's birthday next Sunday, so hope you'll join us at one of those services and sit and visit with each other here in Emerson Hall. We have two, who's we paying attention to the people behind the curtain? It's pretty distracting, isn't it? I know, it's like, I feel like I should have y'all do the announcements. That would be good. Two justice teams are meeting today. At 1 o'clock, Voting is Power, and at 3 o'clock, All Souls Reproductive Justice, two crucial issues in the world today and certainly in Oklahoma. So you can join us at 1 o'clock on Zoom, Voting is Power, at 3 o'clock in room 112 and on Zoom. And parents, think about summer camp for your children. It's time to sign up, and our offering today goes to the Center for Reproductive Rights. This is still Women's History Month, a global human rights organization suing states across the country, including the state of Oklahoma, to reinstate reproductive rights for women. Nancy Northup is the executive director, and during the pandemic, she became an everywhere member of All Souls Tulsa, of All Souls here. She's also a member of All Souls in New York City, so it's great to have her be part of our community. We will now gratefully receive this morning's offering. If you'd like to make a donation to the church, please use one of those envelopes on your pew back. And now we will see what all this muss and fuss and moving around was for. And it's going to be worth it. Here we go.
I'll sit down.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Dina Burke. Woo! Here's to knowing where our yeses and our nos come from. Closing words to Tamara LeBach, Reverend LeBach.
So as you go throughout the week, be thinking about how to exercise that muscle of your full consented yes. As you go right to lunch, be thinking about that, but go in peace. And may you not forget that the infinite possibilities that are born to you of gratitude and of hope. May you use those gifts that you've received and pass on the love that's been given to you. May you be contented knowing that you are a microcosm of the macrocosm. You are a microcosm of the macrocosm. And I forgot the next line. Oh yeah, something about singing and dancing. So hang on. Child of God. So have a great week. There we go. I forgot the last.